first time the mother of a local rapper is speaking out after her son was shot and killed 2 years ago.
NBC Local 33's Courtney Williams is in the studio this morning with more on that mother's message to his fans and how she's pushing forward since his death. Courtney?
Garrett Burton, also known in the music world as G Money, was tragically killed while leaving the recording studio here in Baton Rouge in 2017. And his mother says even though it's been 2 years, the painful memories still feel like yesterday.
It hasn't got no better. I think it'll get better. It feels like yesterday. It still feel the same to me. Like I said, when you have kids, you used to seeing all the time I'm talking to, you know. And then he's about to leave here, got a record deal, he's getting ready to leave Baton Rouge. So all that kind of plays into how I feel right now. You know, rob me of that. That's kind of hard for me.
On September 10, 2017, Garrett Burton, known throughout Baton Rouge and the wider hip-hop community as G Money, had no idea that the decisions he made that day would seal his fate forever. As the 22-year-old rapper sat in a vehicle on Dallas Drive in the heart of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, an assailant would approach in the darkness of night and open fire, striking him multiple times. The bullets would pierce through the vehicle, hitting G Money with fatal precision. By the time authorities arrived at the scene, it was already too late. The young rapper, who had just begun to taste success in the music industry, would be pronounced dead, leaving behind a grieving community and unanswered questions about what led to that fatal night. G Money had no idea that after enduring through the rough lifestyle he had and finally seeing his way to success, that his life would be lost that night. But that was exactly what was awaiting him in the hours to come. Born and raised in the streets of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Garrett Burton grew up in an environment where survival often meant making choices that could have deadly consequences. The city's high crime rate and gang activity created a landscape where young men like G Money had to navigate carefully between loyalty, respect, and self-preservation. From an early age, he found himself immersed in the street culture that dominated his neighborhood, but music became his outlet, his way of expressing the harsh realities he witnessed daily. G Money's affiliation with TBG, also known as the Bottom Boys, was more than just a crew, it was family. The collective represented his neighborhood, his brothers, and his identity in Baton Rouge's competitive street culture. TBG wasn't just about music. It was a bond forged through shared experiences, struggles, and survival in one of Louisiana's most dangerous cities. As G Money rose through the ranks, his talent became undeniable. His flow was smooth, his lyrics authentic, and his presence commanding. He quickly became one of the most promising rappers to emerge from Baton Rouge, earning respect not just locally, but gaining attention from industry insiders who saw his potential to break through to mainstream success. But success in Baton Rouge's rap scene came with complications, particularly when it involved another rising star, NBA YoungBoy. At one point, both G Money and NBA YoungBoy were close, running in similar circles, and even collaborating musically. However, as both artists' profiles rose, tensions began to simmer beneath the surface. The streets of Baton Rouge had long been divided by neighborhood affiliations and crew loyalties, and as NBA YoungBoy aligned himself with NBA, never broke again. While G Money remained loyal to TBG, the friendship began to fracture under the weight of street politics and competition. What started as competitive tension evolved into something far more dangerous. The beef between TBG and NBA, it wasn't just about rap. It was rooted in deep-seated street conflicts, territorial disputes, and personal grievances that stretched back
like my
years.
little partner, he used to be like my little brother. He stayed with me and everything.
Okay, where did it go south?
It really ain't just like when, leave off on the bad note. Like everything was still all good until he started, like doing his own thing, getting him a little buzz, getting a little money. And he just got the big head and just started like the feelings he been feeling probably deep down inside that he was scared to put out. he let that out once he got a name and got from down here. He started letting this shit out how he probably been feeling. He mad about his sister too though.
About his sister?
Yeah, I had fucked her a long time ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he mad about that. He wasn't really tripping on it back then though, you know what I'm saying? He be calling me big brother and shit, you hear me? I guess he just let that fame and shit get to his head. Now he feel like he just this new nigga, whoever he supposed to be, whoever he called himself.
As NBA YoungBoy's star continued to rise nationally, securing a deal with Atlantic Records and generating millions of streams, some perceived G Money's success as a threat or competition. The rivalry played out not just in the streets, but on social media, in music, and through subliminal disses that fans and enemies alike could decode.
Was a nigga named Top, they grew up with a dude. Until he noticed one day he thought hating was cool. And then after that he started fussing with the dude. So he hit him with that K and knocked him out of his shoe.
September 10th, 2017 started like many other days for G Money. He woke up in Baton Rouge, checked his phone, responded to messages, and went about his routine. Those close to him would later describe him as being in good spirits that day. He had been working on new music, planning future moves for his career, and spending time with loved ones. There was no indication that this would be his last day on Earth. He posted on social media, showing himself living life, enjoying the success he had worked so hard to achieve. To the outside world, everything seemed normal, but beneath the surface, the tension that had been building for months was about to explode. Throughout the day, G Money moved around Baton Rouge, visiting different spots, connecting with friends and associates. He spent time with his girlfriend, made stops in his neighborhood, and conducted business related to his music career. According to those who saw him that day, he seemed relaxed but aware. He wasn't moving recklessly, but he also wasn't hiding. This was the delicate balance many in his position had to maintain, staying visible enough to maintain respect and status, but cautious enough to avoid danger. As evening approached, G Money made plans to meet up with people on Dallas Drive, a location that would ultimately become the scene of his murder. Dallas Drive was a familiar area in Baton Rouge, a street where people gathered, conducted business, and socialized. It wasn't an unusual place for G Money to be. As night fell, he arrived at the location and sat in a vehicle, possibly waiting for someone or simply spending time with associates. The exact details of why he was there and who he was with remained somewhat unclear, as is often the case in street-related incidents where witnesses are reluctant to speak. What is known is that at approximately 1:30 a.m. on the morning of September 10th, 2017, an assailant or multiple assailants approached the vehicle where G Money sat. Without warning, gunfire erupted in the darkness. Multiple shots rang out, shattering the night silence and sending bullets tearing through the vehicle. G Money was struck several times, the rounds hitting him with deadly accuracy. The shooting was quick, calculated, and brutal. By the time the gunfire ceased, the damage was done. Those in the immediate area scattered, some running for cover,
I was the
others
first
trying
nigga
to
out the
help.
door. I'm the one called for help. You know what I'm saying? Like, I did everything in my power. But G walked out that door by himself. I told him before he walked out the door, like, man, I'm finna get my bag and I'm finna get the slippers. He the one told me where the slippers was. And when I went to go get the slippers, he walked out the door on his own. And they start shooting. When they start shooting, I really didn't know what was going on because I heard a boom, but the music was playing, so it was kind of muffled.
Calls to 911 flooded in, reporting shots fired and a man down on Dallas Drive. Emergency responders were dispatched immediately, but even as they rushed to the scene, the grim reality was already taking shape. Paramedics and police officers arrived at the scene within minutes of the shooting. They found G Money critically wounded, having sustained multiple gunshot wounds. Despite their best efforts to stabilize him and provide emergency medical care, the injuries were too severe. The 22-year-old rapper was pronounced dead at the scene, his life cut tragically short in a moment of violence that had been building for months. The area was immediately cordoned off as a crime scene, with yellow police tape marking the boundaries. Detectives began their investigation, collecting shell casings, documenting evidence, and interviewing any potential witnesses who remained in the area. News of G Money's death spread rapidly through Baton Rouge and across social media. By the early morning hours, word had reached his family, friends, and fans. The hip-hop community was shocked. Posts began flooding Instagram and Twitter, with people expressing disbelief, grief, and anger. Fellow artists, including those who knew him personally and those who only knew his music, paid tribute. The loss was felt deeply, not just because of his talent, but because of how young he was and how much potential had been stolen. His death became another tragic statistic in Baton Rouge's ongoing struggle with gun violence. But to those who knew him, he was far more than a statistic. He was a son, a friend, a father, and an artist with dreams that would never be realized. G Money's family was devastated. His mother, in particular, struggled to comprehend the loss of her son. In interviews that followed, she spoke about Garrett as a loving person who took care of his family, who had dreams of making it out of Baton Rouge through music, and who was trying to build a better life. She described the pain of receiving the news that her son had been killed, the unbearable weight of grief that no parent should have to endure. She also left behind children, young kids who would now grow up without their father. The ripple effects of his death extended far beyond just one person. It shattered families and left wounds that would take years, if ever, to heal. As the investigation progressed, names began to surface. Authorities identified several persons of interest, individuals who had potential motives and connections to the murder. Among those who came under scrutiny were members and associates of NBA, given the well-documented beef between the two camps. The investigation was complex, as it involved navigating the intricate web of street politics, loyalty, and code. Detectives had to separate rumor from fact, hearsay from evidence. Months turned into years as the case remained unsolved, frustrating G Money's family and supporters who desperately wanted justice for his death. Eventually, an arrest was made. DeAndre Fields, known by his street name NBA Pap and associated with NBA YoungBoy's Never Broke Again crew, was charged in connection with G Money's murder. The arrest sent shockwaves through both camps. For G Money's family, it was a step toward justice, though nothing could bring their loved one back. For those in the streets, it was confirmation of what many had suspected all along, that the murder was tied to the ongoing rivalry. Fields maintained his innocence, and the case would eventually go to trial, where the evidence and testimonies would be scrutinized in a court of law. The trial was closely watched, with media outlets covering every development. After deliberation, the jury returned with a verdict, not guilty. DeAndre Fields was acquitted of the murder charges, a decision that sparked mixed reactions. For Fields and his supporters, it was vindication, proof that the evidence hadn't been strong enough to convict beyond a reasonable doubt. For G Money's family, it was devastating. They felt that justice had not been served, that their son's killer was walking free. The acquittal highlighted the challenges of prosecuting cases rooted in street conflicts, where witnesses are often unwilling to testify. Evidence is circumstantial, and the code of the streets makes it difficult to secure convictions. The legal outcome did little to heal the wounds or answer the lingering questions about what exactly happened that night on Dallas Drive. G Money's death was more than just the loss of one individual. It represented a larger issue plaguing communities across America. Young black men, talented and full of potential, are being cut down in their prime due to cycles of violence, poverty, and systemic failures. His story is a reminder of the human cost of street beefs, of how pride, loyalty, and competition can turn deadly. It's also a reminder of what could have been, the music he would have created, the success he could have achieved, the family he could have raised. As the years pass since that September 9, 2017, those who knew and loved G Money continue to grapple with the loss, holding on to memories and music.
People see this. So what would you say to the next generation who are thinking about jumping off the porch?
Man, the lifestyle that seems glamorous in music videos and on social media often comes with a price that is far too high. The streets may demand loyalty and respect, but they also take lives without mercy. G Money, like Doe B, like DMX, and like countless others, had talent, dreams, and people who loved him. Yet the circumstances of his environment, the conflicts that consumed his world, and the violence that pervaded his community ultimately claimed him before he could fully realize his potential. May G Money's story serve as both a tribute to his talent and a sobering reminder of the urgent need for change in the streets, in the culture, and in the systems that fail young people like him. Rest in peace, G Money. Your music lives on, and your memory will not be forgotten.